For the last few days, we've talked a lot about resolutions and losing weight, quitting smoking, and so on. But this morning, we're talking about relationships and how to best approach all of them in the new year. Here with me now and how we can create the healthy relationships and habits this year is Beth. Thanks for joining us today, Beth.
Thank you.
This, I think, is interesting to a lot of us because, like I said, the smoking and the losing weight, exercising, is just kind of those ones that we know. But as far as the healthy relationships and just kind of like a healthy life in general, that's a little bit harder to do. So where do we start with this?
So it's a great question. So really, we are spirit, mind, and body, if you think about it, right? So whatever we do in the world starts out by our intention. And one of the things I wrote about in my book about relationships has to do with this idea that we have an internal map. So when you start out the year and say, I would like to change how I do relationships or how I am in relationships or my overall relationship to health, the first thing you have to do is think about, what am I doing now? And what would I like to do instead? And what are the things I want to stop doing?
Exactly. Kind of put it into perspective first.
Exactly. So the first, I talk about it as a 4x4 relationship.
Yeah.
So the 4 things that you're going to be changing would be your relationship to your health, your spiritual relationship, how you see yourself, how you see others, and then the next thing is how you think about things, because thinking and actions go together. That's when we're going to talk a little bit about stress. And then also body. Stress can affect your body. It can create inflammation, like we can talk about that, what you need to do to change those things. And then changing your community. Sometimes isolation can be one of the problems, or too much peer pressure. So it's finding out your relationship with community and seeing how it can best serve you. So kind of go through these 4 different things, and then I do it in levels, so we can talk about that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it kind of depends on what type of person you are. Everyone's going to be different with this, but that 4x4 approach, you can kind of, you know, do it your way and find what works best for you. And something I know you just mentioned too, stress, and I think it definitely kind of puts hamper on all 4 of those things.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about how you can reduce that and not make it so detrimental to all 4 of those health problems.
Okay, so the first thing is that we have to understand that stress in some ways is actually kind of good for you, because if you have a little bit of stress, you know, your heart rate goes up, we have this ability to respond to stress, it increases our resiliency. However, if we have too much stress, we're constantly reacting to the stress, then we can create something called allostatic load in our body, and it changes the way we think about things, it creates discouragement, and it makes us gain weight, believe it or not. So we might eat more, or we might be hypervigilant, our muscles might start to hurt. So in order to reduce stress, we have to start by looking at our overall picture of life, right? Make sure that we're eating right, make sure we're drinking enough water, make sure we create time for rest and sleep, and change our attitude toward things, right? We have to let some things go.
That I think is a major role in that. And something too, just on a personal note, when you have big life changes, like moving somewhere where you're not sure, you know, you don't really know anything, what are some ways when you can kind of like special circumstances? It's the same thing, give yourself enough sleep, or are there other things you can do when you do have a big life event?
So big life events are very important, right? So first of all, as you said, you give yourself enough sleep. Secondly, strangely, there's some physical things you can do. If you make sure you're eating good high protein foods, snack on nuts, don't eat prepared foods, like don't run to, and I hate to say this, McDonald's or any other fast food. We want to try to have things that we're making for ourselves. The other thing that's really important is water. Do you know that our water, how much water we have, affects every part of our being, our thinking, our brain. So we want to have about 3 liters of water a day. So go grab a glass of water, right?
Good to know.
If you're going to have an alcoholic drink, drink a glass of water along with it.
Because so you don't have to cut it out totally.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Right.
And tell me real quick, you brought your book, is this right? Tell me, hold that up for me and tell me a little bit about that.
So this is Turning Me to We, The Art of Partnering with Mindfulness. And this book actually talks a lot about how to look at yourself, how to determine what's working in your life, and also it talks about the fact that we create an inner map of relationship. So we do it with relationships in like this, talking to each other, love relationships, work relationships, but also relationships to health and food.
Absolutely.
So you can take some time to look at that and make some shifts.
Absolutely. Beth, thank you so much for joining us today. A lot of good information. I'm sure you have much more in your book too, so definitely pick that up.
Thank you.
If you want to know more information.
It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
you.
Beth. We also have more information on our website, krqe.com, so head there if you want to know more. And we'll be right back.